just finished a podcast. Went on for a little over an hour, talked about the Game of Presence, talked about my journey up until now, and it's good. I also had a session / conversation with a friend yesterday where reiterating certain principles, coming back into contact with the larger perspective is very helpful to me. Because when I'm in the storm, when I'm in the muck, when I'm in the practice, sometimes I lose sight of the broader picture. I lose sight of the aerial view when I'm on the ground. And the aerial view is often it's a more inspiring view. So some of my inspiration has been helpful. Last few days have been a continuation of the last week and a half. Really were being with the sexual life force and how difficult it is for me not to engage with things that stimulate it. I mean, there's a part of me that, if an impulse comes up or just a thought that just wants to grab on to it, and in a way, one of the things I was talking about yesterday with someone was this. It feels like a big fire, like a raging fire pit. And it's in the middle of my house. And it's like, oh man, that's not the best place to have a big fire. And, everything heats up more and more, and I'm opening windows, and then there's smoke, and I'm doing my best to not just put the fire out, not just dump a bucket of water, which would be release for masturbation in this metaphor. But in a way, learn from the fire, in a way, outlast the fire, in a way, learn how to build a chimney and move the fire off to the side, or because in the past I've just always poured water on it. It's just been like, all right, I'm gonna release. But as I learn those things, the increased heat, the increased smoke inhalation, the intensity of being close to a fire that I'm not going to put out is difficult, to say the least. It's a bit maddening. It's a bit agitating. I wake up agitated. I wake up, there's just this increased intensity. And I think in some ways, this is something that most humans contend with. And in other ways, I don't know what, the level of intensity for me is versus the average person, if it's more or less or whatever. And I would say that I have not done the best job historically or now. I've told in previous videos that I broke the space in the sense that I went on certain dating apps and was talking to people and engaging that dopamine release, that horny part of me more than I intended to. I didn't intend to at all, but then once it happened, it also was very difficult to stop And what actually has stopped it for now, and hopefully for good, was that I wound up engaging with someone who, I guess there was no intent of actually engaging with them. Anything beyond, some sexual fantasy foreplay type stuff, but I wound up actually getting into some deeper stuff, and they shared some vulnerable things, and I think a little bit of a connection was formed, and then I was just like, uh-oh, what's happening here? I can't actually engage with this. I have the project, and it kind of snapped me, like, what am I doing? So I deleted the app, and I disengaged from them. I shared what was actually going on and apologized for any leading on and all of that stuff. But yeah, there's just this part of me. I did not expect so many of these videos to be focused on this. But it feels really important, like learning to handle the fire, to learn from the fire, to build the chimney, because it's not like it's just one fire that goes away. It'll come back at different intensities. And like, I have to learn how to engage with this and transmute it, or find a different way of living with it and through it. And I understand why. I remember I was with the monks. I think this was the first or second time. And I brought something similar like this to the monk, and I told him that it was very difficult for me. This was like a 40 to 50 year monk. And without hesitation, he's just like, yep. Just full compassion. Like, yep, it's one of the hardest pieces. I get it. And I think I was telling him I had like a wet dream or something like that. And he was like, yeah, just clean yourself off, roll over. Like, it happens. And this is something we all contend with, and it's no small thing. Just take it in stride. And I think mine's coming through in a really intense way right now, because of in between my time with my previous partner and the beginning of this project, there was a 6-month period where I wanted to explore sexually and just get out there. And hadn't been really an adult or a mature adult when just looking for casual connection in that way before. I was in an 8-year relationship, and then before that I was monk mode for 4-ish years. I think I only slept with one person, 4 to 5 years. And then before that, I was late teens and a totally different place in life. And I'm glad I did. These last 6 months in some ways were fun, new, but in other ways, I'm noticing that it really engaged something inside of me, that I built a momentum more so than I thought I did. And so that momentum, I think, is a part of the detox that I talked about, a slowing down of I was heading in one direction for 6 months, and then it's just like, whoa. That's totally like me, though. I'm the guy who does something big. Wow. Got something in my throat here. Yeah, there's a sense of like holding back or choking back a little bit of what I'm saying. PGing it a little bit. But I'm the guy who, when I do something, I do it. Hence this project. And do it up until the last moment. So it's no shock that this is, now that I'm actually voicing this is coming in so powerfully. Been going on a few drives recently up the coast. That's been great. I'll get some footage of that. It's just been helpful to drive with. It's kind of like my nature meanders. With no place to go, no distance, no time. Just go out. Enjoy the drive. Turn around when I want to turn around. Take a new route. Driven on streets that I haven't driven on before. I've walked on trails I haven't walked on before. Not just be in nature, being with nature feels different to me. There's a sense of a connection, a relationship that can be formed and deepened. Sensing the vibration of life force, of spirit all around me. Not always easy. Definitely a lot of times where my mind's just going and it's hard to connect. But just slowing down, going slow enough, landing, staying connected. Yeah. It's kind of like Tolkien's quote from Lord of the Rings, not all who wander are lost. There's a bit of sense of that with all of this, that there's a wandering occurring. A wandering towards something, but it's a wandering nonetheless. That actually brings in, there's a few articles, or not articles, little blogs that I wrote a little while back called The Journeyer, The Adventurer, and The Quester. And the quester is someone who has a goal. They have a top of the mountain they are questing to arrive at, say enlightenment. And the goal is the important thing. How I get there isn't important. It's the goal. And so if it's a fairly miserable path up the mountain, doesn't matter. It's about the goal. If I lose relationships in the process, basically what happens on the journey isn't as important as the arrival. That's the quester. The adventurer is the opposite, where there isn't a top of the mountain for them. And their only interest is this moment. Their only interest is just being where they are and wandering. If I go left, I go left. If I go right, I go right. I'm just here to feel every step, breathe every breath. I have no interest in reaching any top of mountains. And then the journeyer is the integration of the two. The journeyer is I have a top of the mountain and it is important to me and I am walking in that direction. But as important is every step, every breath, is being here now. Engaging with the journey itself or with the path itself on a very deep level. And yep, I will come up and check my compass and keep heading in the direction that I want to. I will keep making my way up the mountain. But if I take a left or a right, or I go a little bit slower here, it's okay because I'm present. I'm here. And what's interesting about this whole process for me is that in a sense, in presence and enlightenment, the journey and the way of the adventure and the way of the quester are they're the same thing. I'm essentially trying to arrive at an effortless presence in a deep and profound connection. And that's why there are some spiritual traditions that are much more adventure oriented. They say, like, stop trying to get somewhere. Where you're trying to get is here, and here is always here, so stop trying. And just know you can never be more here. You can never be more connected to God, because God is in all things. Completely here right now. And there's a relief that happens inside of me when I sit with that. But then there are the other traditions that say, that's all well and good, but there is a there. There is a top of the mountain. There is a source to all of life. There is a deeper reality that can be experienced and connected to. And while God is in all things and completely here, there's a process of unfolding in order to truly be able to connect with that in its fullness that I may not have access to right now. And so while I trust that, believe that, and working on connecting to that, it's a work. There's an alchemy occurring in order to fully feel God in every moment. And so there's a connecting of the two here, of being just deeply present, being deeply here, and enjoying, falling in love with this moment while walking towards a deeper reality. And holding all of that while I am contending with sexual life force and pain and suffering and it's wild. It's wild. This whole thing is day by day, moment by moment. I can't not be here. Aho. Amen. Rocket.